it would alter something in the fabric of life that would not allow for children at the end of your street to eat food. You wouldn't go to the shop and support it. You wouldn't. Because you'd see the children and you'd say, I'm not doing that to them today. I'm not choosing to do that because that's what I'm used to doing, or that's what I want to do, and that's what I enjoy the taste of. I'm going to make a change to help them to have a better quality of life like I've got at this end of the street. I want them to be able to eat food and to smile and to have fun and to explore their creativity and explore the questions that we like to explore in the West about God and science and the universe. I want them to have that chance instead of them just exploring the question, where do I eat today? What do I eat today? How do I eat today? I've had some news in the last few days from Tanzania, from Feather's Tail, and it's had my mind thinking about something, but I also want to share this thing that's happening because here in the West, where I'm currently in Hamburg waiting to go back to Tanzania, people are just completely unaware of this. And what's happening at the moment in Tanzania, for me personally, what's happening in Tanzania is, sadly, some of our dogs have been poisoned. Now, they haven't directly and maliciously and intentionally been poisoned by somebody. They've been poisoned by a thing called aflatoxin. Now, aflatoxin is a fungus which is growing in a massive way on all crops at the moment in Africa, East Africa especially. I can speak for Tanzania, has a huge problem with this. And it's growing on everything, all the staples, the maize, the beans, the rice, peanuts even. And it's a type of fungus, but this fungus, when ingested, is a severe toxin to the liver. And it causes liver failure in human beings. Children die of this daily. Adults die of this daily. And if you feed a dog something with aflatoxin, because they're so small, sadly they die too. Aflatoxin is huge this year in Tanzania. I know from speaking to the vets, the doctors, who are dealing with the dogs at the moment, some people, all of their dogs are dying in one go. And they haven't changed the food, they're still feeding them the same thing. But this year, the weather is so adverse that storing the rice or the maize has become nearly impossible. Even harvesting on the fields has become so difficult that this fungus is growing on the food before it's even harvested. So it's right across Tanzania. The food is contaminated. Not all, but a lot of it is contaminated with this fungus, which is creating an aflatoxin, which is a poison for the liver ultimately, a liver carcinogen. Climate change is causing this burst in the inability to store and dry food correctly in developing countries like Tanzania. These are things we don't know about in the West. Here in Hamburg, I can see you try to bring up such subjects with people, and people care because the ones that are close to home they deal with. For instance, fracking and stuff like this. I see in the West there's a bit of stuff behind this because it's going to be right on their doorstep. It's going to cause a problem for them. But climate change is already at a tilting point on the planet. It's influenced by humans. In some cases, I believe deliberately. In other cases, unintentionally. And it's those doing it unintentionally that I'm wanting to address by speaking about these problems. And by speaking about the things I'm seeing in a developing country, like my dog's dying. It's a horrible way. I've never seen, thankfully yet, a child or an adult human die of aflatoxin. But I have watched many of my dogs die. I've laid in bed with dogs suffering for hours on end on my chest. Puppies struggling to breathe. Their bodies inflate to 2, 3 times, 4 times the normal size they're supposed to be as they hold onto fluids in the body as the liver completely fails. They change colour, they break out in hives because the liver's just not functioning anymore. It's horrid. It's horrible. I laid with a dog once on my chest for about 9 hours, hoping and praying that the vet would answer my text message. And early morning, around about 7 o'clock, they did. And I made the hour's drive to the vet and had the dog put to sleep because I couldn't bear watching it suffer like it was. This is happening to humans in the developing world too. And I know a lot of people say, well, what business is that of theirs? Because in the Western system, I see being here that you're in a bubble. You don't see the effect that it's having. You don't see the climate changing. It doesn't affect your food. It doesn't affect your daily life. It's just something that's spoke about on a box, on a TV screen. The same place where you get entertainment and stories that are not true, fictional movies about aliens and monsters and bizarre other things. And your mind puts them in the same place sometimes. It's like, yeah, I'm getting my news from there, but it's still just this thing happening, images on a screen flickering. And because of that, we're ignorant to what we're doing, and the right information is never brought to us to tell us what we can do to stop this. Indirectly, climate change is unfortunately killing my rescue animals because of the effect it's having on the crops on the fields, and because we feed the dogs rice, because we can't find any other suitable stable out in a developing country. And because of that, they're dying. And it's not just dogs, it's humans. And thankfully, I've never come across children dying of it yet, but it happens. I was looking yesterday and doing research on it, and I was heartbroken at the amount of children who were dying from aflatoxin, because families can see that their crops for this year are mouldy. They can see it, but they have to eat it or they starve. So there's two things there: the inequality and misdistribution of resources, and the fact the climate is shifting. And I'm here in the West, and I mentioned fracking. People are getting behind this fracking thing. Stop fracking, it's terrible, it's bad for the environment, it's bad for water. True, and it needs to stop. But just because it's on your doorstep, you see it. But every day, most human beings around me are making an unconscious choice to destroy the planet by supporting an industry through choice, through desire, and through habit that is destroying the planet faster than any other. People who are lobbying to stop fracking go out all day trying to stop companies from fracking in their area, fracking to destroy the environment, and even music groups I've seen are singing on stage about fracking and speaking about it and doing concerts to try and stop it. But then they go away and they eat meat and dairy. The number one cause of greenhouse gas emissions is animal agriculture. The number one cause of deforestation, which increases the greenhouse gas issue because we don't have trees to deal with it, is the dairy industry and the cattle industry for meat. You can't go out and lobby something to save the environment and then support the thing through choice, desire or habit that is destroying the environment faster than any other. Now, a lot of people are doing it in ignorance. That's fine. But others know about it and they still persist to do it because they haven't got the discipline perhaps, or they just don't relate or see the true problem because it's not on their doorstep. I can't go out and fight racism. For instance, to give an example, I couldn't go out in the world and say, I stand against racism towards persons from the Middle East, persons who get called horrible names from areas like Pakistan or India. I couldn't go and fight racism for persons of Arabic descent, let's put it that way. I go and do that all day long. But then, on an evening, I go off and support racism towards the persons on the African continent. It's stupid. It's just unbelievably stupid. And it would take a very high level of ignorance or a very low level of education for me to do that and think that that's okay. And it's not nice for people to hear it. And I know people are getting upset when persons speak passionately about it, but this pains me. And I see it day in, day out, especially where I am now. The climate is so bad at the moment, the shifts are so bad, that where I am in Uchira in Tanzania, our farm, which is there to feed the children in our fund, it's not there for selling for profit, it's there to feed children with no food, is dying. The maize and the beans are dying because the weather has been so erratic, so different to other years, that we've had floods and then intense sunshine. The climate has changed. We've had to pay to pump water into our fields to try and save the crops, so as we have a chance at feeding all the children we need to feed later this year and throughout the year, as we are feeding now, and the elderly and the homeless. And now as well, those families who have lost this year's crop no doubt will come to us for help, because there's no one else in the area. There's no other NGO or food assistance in our area. You can travel in a huge radius and you'll find hundreds of thousands of people, and the only NGO they can come to is the one that you know I have built out in Tanzania. Those families can't afford around us to pump water into their fields because the climate has changed. And the thing is, people in the West, just because they can't see it directly, and this is what I hope to bring to you, to show you directly, and I'm going to make videos on this year when I'm back in Tanzania, to show you what happens to families whose food source is cut off. Because here in the West, we're making choices to eat foods that destroy the planet, to support industries that destroy the planet through habit, choice, or desire. It's not fair, it's unjust. And if it were closer to home, you wouldn't let it happen. If at the end of your street you knew, let's give two examples. If at the end of your street you knew for a fine fact that if you went and started supporting today the dairy industry and the meat industry, it would alter something in the fabric of life that would not allow for children at the end of your street to eat food, you wouldn't go to the shop and support it. You wouldn't. Because you'd see the children and you'd say, I'm not doing that to them today. I'm not choosing to do that because that's what I'm used to doing, or that's what I want to do, and that's what I enjoy the taste of. I'm going to make a change to help them to have a better quality of life like I've got at this end of the street. I want them to be able to eat food and to smile and to have fun and to explore their creativity and explore the questions that we like to explore in the West about God and science and the universe. I want them to have that chance instead of them just exploring the question, where do I eat today? What do I eat today? How do I eat today? And for those children, if they were at the end of your street and you were consciously going out and you were going to go and visit a nightclub with your friends, I know without any shadow of a doubt that if you knew at the end of your street children would go without something to eat that night, that you would give at least half of your leisure money to help them to eat. You wouldn't go and waste limited resources that the planet has so as you can have fun and be distracted from the world and its issues. You would go and try and help those that need it. You would share. If we can expand the way we view ourselves within the world, then those people are at the end of your street. Just because the street's a little bit longer than a few houses doesn't mean they're not there. With modern technology, with the way the world can connect using social media, they are at the end of your street. They're in your home. They can be in your home. And you can help them in your home. You can make a stand today. You can make a stand when you go to the supermarket and you can say, I'm not doing this. I'm not supporting an industry which is destroying the planet for the developing world so as we can eat in a way that we're used to eating. There's a choice. Because anyone can switch to a plant-based diet and most of the time, 99.9% of the time, be better off for it. That's why the head of the Heart Foundation in America, the largest heart research institute on the planet, is a vegan. It's hard to get the message through, but in the West, you don't see it. And you don't see that your simple choices to pick up a bottle of milk or to eat that cheese, what it's doing to the rest of the world, because the industries that own these profitable animal agriculture industries also are involved in your media, and they're not going to put that on you. They're not going to put that into your home, so it's up to you to look elsewhere and find out the truth. Find out the truth. Right now, as a direct correlation of climate change, as a direct result of climate change, sadly, some animals that I love are dying, and they're dying in a horrible way, and they're doing all they can to save them. But right now there are men, women and children dying of the same thing. As well as the starvation that's going on across Africa due to the climate change this year, there are people who have grown food and are dying from aflatoxin poisoning, something you've probably never heard of, but created predominantly. It happens without it, but it's happening so much because of the changing climate. No one can store their food or harvest their food well. When I see people I'm walking through the street here in Hamburg and I look in the window of Burger King, I see the link. I see the link between what they've got in their hand and what I'm fighting to try and protect. And they don't see the link. But if you just take a moment and think about what you're doing, you can see it. It's a fact that animal agriculture is the largest pollutant and creator of greenhouse gases. It's a fact that beef and dairy production is the largest contributor to the felling of trees on the planet. That's changing the climate. And the climate changing at the moment, unfortunately, is causing innocent people and innocent animals to suffer terribly. And you don't need to be. Otherwise, all of us vegans on the planet who are healthy and strong and fit and well, we'd have died from nutritional deficiencies, because there aren't any for vegans. There's no difference. You're not going to suffer by switching your diet to a plant-based diet. The only thing that's going to suffer is your ego, your habits, and what you're used to. And those things, they're not important, unfortunately. Your sense of self, your sense that you deserve to do what you want to do, that you can dominate a life for sensual pleasures on your tongue, those things are not relevant, and they don't really belong anywhere in a moral and loving humanity.